All right, Joy, everybody is let in from the waiting room.
Okay, I'll call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Okay, so myself, Joy is here, Caroline, Casey Diot, Stephen Farisi, and that's about it. And then for now, Sarah Devine is resigned, so hopefully we'll fill that spot soon. All right, public comment. Mark, are you here for public comment or are you just joining? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, school dude reports.
I'm going to jump into the answers to your questions, Joy. Thank you for sending those yesterday.
Yeah,
that was great. And I know it's helpful when you get them a few days in advance. So, so thank you. So your first question was on the handrail at CLES. What part broke? And is it beyond repair already? So that was the handrails. It's the end of the handrail. They kind of they're long tubes that sort of link into each other, and the end of it was hit during snow plowing this year, and it just kinked the end so it doesn't fit together any longer. So they do tend to kind of come apart fairly. You can kind of move them. So we're going to look into securing them a little bit better, but we will get a vendor out to make that repair. One was damaged on another bridge, but that one could easily fit back together. So that was okay. But this one does need to get repaired by a vendor. We need to get a replacement part for it.
So I assume the exposed wires are because it's lit up at night.
So it's just it has under the LED lighting underneath, and it's just like that sort of that tape of lighting. It's not like electrical wiring like all throughout, really. It's just sort of that like LED strip. So there's no like electrical wires hanging around or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to come back to item 6977, which is related to the leaks in the boilers at BHS, because I do have BHS boilers on as an agenda item under, sort of capital updates. And so I'll talk about that in detail there. Number 6993 and 6994, those were related to bathrooms, I believe. Yes. And so 6993, that was a staff bathroom near pre-K. And that was repaired and reopened today. Then the other one was I think it was a clogged urinal at Wisconsin. We have to get Arca Rooter in to snake that. But that the whole bathroom is not out of order, just that one urinal. And then once it's snaked and repaired, it'll be up and running again. 6995. Yes, that has been fixed. It was the door latch the closer needed to be adjusted on that door. So that has been addressed. And then, under the completed work items, number 6973, you had asked if the roof leak is still an issue and if this is a section of roofing that we were replacing. So it was reported in School Dude as a leak in the roof because the ceiling tile was wet. It ended up that it wasn't actually a leak in the roof itself. It was a leak in the pipe that was running above that ceiling tile. It was like a pinhole. It was a cold water pipe actually, and so it was like a pinhole leak in that pipe. Both Joe DeGrande and David Baris, our maintenance mechanics, shut down that little section. I think it impacted a couple of bathrooms in that area on Thursday or Friday, and repaired it the same morning. So everything was repaired, opened back up by I think 11:30 in the morning the same day. So that has been fixed. So good news, it was not related to a roof leaking issue, and the plumbing, the pipe, that section of piping in the cold water plumbing has been replaced.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Caroline, did you have any questions or no? You're good. Okay. All right, new business, discussion of proposed DRIP funding projects.
All right, and is it all right if I share my screen?
Sure.
Can you remind me how much funding we got?
We are receiving $120,808. from the state. And so that's all in here.
Okay.
So the board does need to sort of approve the projects that we want to use this state funding for. And so the purpose here is just to walk you through what I'll be sharing with the board should the facilities committee agree that these projects are worthy of moving forward with. So this is sort of a dry run, a rough draft. So I'm open to any feedback you have on where we're going with this. But
It's quick question. Do we need to do any of those like special motions or anything at the board
No.
that we have to do for some other? Okay.
no, because these are, so the reason we need to make those special motions, those are for the resolutions that the first selectmen approve, the board of selectmen approve. Those are all related to, a state reimbursement for non-priority grants. And so this is separate. This is a direct grant from the state. These are funds that will be sent to the town of Brookfield before June 30th. And then the Board of Education may use those funds for projects that are deemed approvable through this program.
Okay, thanks.
All right. So let's see. Okay. So this is just a brief background, the state statutes that governs this program. And again, it does provide direct grants to public school operators, which is the Board of Education for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2026 and forward, which, and all the language related to this program is, this type of language like and forward, and there is an annual approval process. So it is my understanding that these funds will be dispersed to the town annually, year over year. And I say that and like hesitantly because it all, I assume, is going to be dependent on, state budgets being passed and this not, going away for everybody. But it looks like this is going to be hopefully a sustainable program for us to sort of count on. District repair and improvement projects. It means a capital expenditure project approved by a public school operator for any of the following. A, the construction, renovation, repair, or enlargement of school buildings or school grounds, including parking lots, athletic fields, and playgrounds. So that's really quite open-ended. Construction, renovation, right? We're sort of, and repair. There's a lot to repair that we can repair in our, at least in our two schools. So that leaves a lot of projects on the table. Improvements to school facilities for compliance with health, safety, and code requirements. Or C, the purchase, installation, or maintenance or improvements to fixed school infrastructure, including but not limited to heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems, plumbing, electrical systems, and roofing. So what we are proposing that we use our first annual grant award of $120,808 is for these three projects, both at the high school and the middle school. So for the high school, we're looking to repair entryways, the flooring in almost all of the entryways, the main entryways at least at the high school. I have a range of about $22,000 to $28,000 is what we're estimating for that work. The second project would be the entryway and the SRO office relocation and remodel at Wisconsin Middle School. I'll show you some pictures of that. There is a wide range here of what I'm estimating for this project, only because until we go out and to seek quotes, I really don't know. So I'm trying to be, conservative on my high end and what I think is maybe more realistic on my lower end. But again, I wanted to provide a range that would still work within our allotted funds. And then number three, we've talked about this a little bit already, the Halo Smart Sensor installations in bathrooms and locker rooms at the high school. We did get some
Did she freeze for everybody?
So pardon?
I think you froze.
But you're good now.
Am I good? Okay.
Yeah.
You're good now.
Should I go back or keep going?
Yeah, go back maybe 10 seconds.
Halo Smart Sensors?
Yeah, right there.
Yes.
At the high school. And so what I was saying was that the figures for that is a solid number. We did go out to bid for pricing on these. And so that is that's a real number, not an estimate.
Okay.
So at the high school, the entry flooring, we are going to go out. We would go out to bid for this work because it is over $20,000. And we would hope to have this work completed in early to mid-July. Probably would take between the two schools a couple, 2 to 3 weeks to complete, I would estimate. And the areas at the high school we're looking to redo is the main entrance, the athletic entrance. Both the athletic entrance has 2 vestibules, so we would look to do both of those. The auditorium entrance, the south entrance, which I don't know if you're familiar with that, but if you're looking at the front of the high school, you have the main entrance right in front of you. There's another entrance right along the same sidewalk area, right to the right of that of the building. So that's what I'm referring to as the south entrance. And then that hallway between the 2 outdoor courtyards gets so much light. It also does get a lot of moisture and water coming through where those 2 doors. So we would look to sort of, mitigate any of those issues as well. But also really those tiles are going to keep popping up with all the issues that we have. So really just sprucing up that whole hallway and make it sort of just a much nicer area. So this is kind of exciting. Okay, so this is my mock-up of, and again, the floor finish is an approximation, but it's a fairly close approximation of what these systems would look like. So we're looking to put down an epoxy flooring. It's very, very durable. We would do moisture testing in all these areas to see if there's any moisture coming up from the concrete underneath. I think we would certainly find that to be true in that hallway corridor. I'm not sure about these other entrances, but if there was a need to put down a moisture barrier on top, we would do that. And then you do this epoxy coating with these they're essentially paint chips. And so we would do, the Brookfield colors and the blue and the gold, and really make it, and then you put a sealer on it so it's nice and shiny and vibrant. It's really durable, easy to clean, easy to maintain. And so this is what those 2 areas, you can see this little vestibule in here, which has tile coming up, and tiles almost anywhere where you see these large mats, there's a good chance that there's missing tiles underneath them, right? And so these areas all really do need a lot of work. So that would be the main entrance.
Just quick question, high level on that, the epoxy flooring. Do we know the estimated lifetime of that?
I know someone that can get I just lost you guys. Hello?
We can hear you.
You can hear me?
We hear and see you fine.
My whole computer just went black.
Oh, you're frozen, but we can hear you.
Restart required. Okay, that's not great. We're going to keep going and pretending I didn't see that. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll get a very good number, but my basement floor I've had for 15 years and I haven't even had to refinish it once. So
just a question. I mean, not critical information, but when looking at the spend, right, we would want to know what and it's a high traffic area, obviously.
Absolutely. Yep. So estimated lifetime. Yep. Okay. Okay. So that's the main entrance. The next area is the athletic entrance. And again, there's two separate vestibules here. And you can see, these areas where there's a lot of missing tile underneath these mats, there's more, additional missing tile. And so this is what, these areas could potentially look like. You'll notice in this picture too, I added a window here. Thank you, Stephen. Stephen is saying 10 to 15 years. Thank you, Stephen. So wow, my basement might need to have a little polish put on it soon because I'm approaching 15 years.
Different caliber because of the high traffic.
Exactly.
Yeah, different use case.
Yeah. You'll get like 20. Don't worry.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So that window goes into the vestibule that's right, adjacent to this one area. And adding that window there will give visual access from the office, which is right through that window, which is where Mary Negri sits. And then also would allow visual access from where the camera is placed in the athletic wing right there, through to see, if there's anybody in that far vestibule. So that's also, sort of an added, sort of safety feature that we want to put in there. This is the auditorium entrance. There's also this door. Can you see where I'm pointing in this upper right? This door is the door to the backstage, to the back of the stage. And there's like a 4-by-6 foot section that goes right to the stage that is really in dire straits. And so I would look to, extend that epoxy right up to that stage area in there as well. But that's what that would look like. Again, there's missing tiles there. This is that south entrance. So there is no tile put down in this area. It's just concrete. And so that would have a new epoxy finish to it as well.
I don't think is that accessible by the students or no?
I don't know. Probably not. No, I don't think that students go in that entrance likely. I don't know that many students go in the auditorium entrance either necessarily. But they are just areas that, could use a little love. And then this is the hallway, which I thought, makes a big difference. I mean, that hallway gets so much use.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think that really brightens it up quite a bit. So that's the plan for project number 1. Any questions so far?
I'll just ask my question now. Do we build in any contingency costs or no?
Contingency. Well, so we did ask for contingency pricing. So essentially, like, we're estimating between $13 and $16 a square foot for this epoxy flake system. And depending on the condition of the concrete, some areas are going to have to be prepped. The biggest thing with epoxy floor installations is the prep of the floor. If it's not prepped properly, the epoxy won't adhere and it won't last the 10 to 15 years that we expect. And so there will have to be some patchwork. And I already did draft an RFP for this. And Jules has looked at it. Dan has looked at it. We are asking for an additional per square foot cost for like concrete pair above and beyond. So we will see what that looks like. We've asked for pricing for an add alternate for the vapor barrier, the moisture barrier that we would put down. I do expect we would probably put it down in this hallway, at least at a minimum. And so we've asked for different levels of pricing. That high number, the $16 a square foot, according to an installer that I'm familiar with, that would include the vapor barrier with it. So I'm hoping that we're inclusive of a lot of work, unless there's another $5,000 of concrete work that would need to happen. But I think a lot of it would just be patchwork and repairs, nothing too extensive, I'm hoping. But so no, I did not build in like a 5% or 10% and contingency on top of the estimated, per square foot cost that I'm estimating.
Okay.
All right.
So I don't know if you're able to do that with the grant, with the grant. That's why I'm curious, how, because I'm not worried about the cost of the epoxy. It's what they find when they try to dig up the floor.
Yeah, and a lot of it they will be able to tell by when they come. We will do a mandatory walkthrough for this project so that they can see the condition, and you can see the condition of the concrete in a lot of these spaces because there already is tile removed, and where the tile is already removed is really sort of the places where it's in the worst condition because it's already sort of cracked and crumbled a bit. So I think that will give a good idea of what they're going to be dealing with. And, it does include, removal of the existing tile and things like that. So we'll see, if bids come in, twice as much as we're estimating, then, we'll likely be coming back to say, okay, bids are higher. Do we want to use, do we want to do half of the spaces this year and do the second half next summer when we get additional funding from DRIP? We can make some adjustments there, but this is just sort of the game plan based on everything we know today.
Okay.
Shall I keep going?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right. So for Wisconir, here we'd like to do a similar remodel of the main entryway at Wisconir and apply the same epoxy coating finish to the floor. We also would like to relocate the SRO office to this space. If you recall, if you're familiar with the entryway in Wisconir, it is really quite expansive, and there's a lot of space that's sort of not really used. You come into the main entrance and you would just go to the right to check in. There's a window to the security monitor and then a window with an opening to the secretaries, and you can, so that's where you check in. The space to the right is not really used for much of anything, and so that's where we would look to relocate the SRO office. And in order to do that, we would have to put up a wall. We would want that wall to have the same aesthetic as that front of the building, with the metal and glass panels. We'd have to add some electrical, some HVAC. We're thinking like one of those split unit systems that does air conditioning and heat. There is a heating unit that goes in there as well already, but we're thinking that would be most efficient, particularly for the air conditioning. That floor is on a slant, so we would likely have to at least level the flooring where that SRO office would go, just so that he's not working on the slant and the wall and the door all closes properly. And then we do want to replace the front door at Wisconir. And again, like I said, put the epoxy coating flooring throughout. And so this is what we're looking at Wisconir. Again, same type of flooring. And this is to the right when you go in to check in. And then this is what we're considering for where the SRO office. So you can see, hopefully it's big enough that you can see this wall here with a door. And it really just gives a really nice vantage point for our SRO. He can see everything, in the parking lot coming, approaching the building, has a good access to the entryway. And so we thought this would be a really good use of that space.
Does he have I'm assuming he has a current office somewhere or no?
He does. Yes.
Okay. I am not familiar with the middle school. I've only been inside for basketball in the gym.
Yep.
So is it closed off? What part of the building is it in?
It is near the main office. But it is just like a closed off office, right? Okay. Like, so that there's no, he doesn't see anything from his office essentially. Right. So,
yeah, it's not an ideal situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. No, I mean, I like the proposal. I mean, it certainly makes sense. Yeah.
And then, there's talk of, there may be some tweaks here and there to it. Is it going to be the clear glass? Is it going to, things like that? But we'll figure out those fine details as we move along. But this is the idea of the project. Any other questions there? Mm-mm. All right. Oh, and then for these projects, so we were not going to hire out like a GC for this renovation and the moving the SRO's office. And so we're likely not going to have to go out to bid for this project. I don't think any one component of this project will be more than $20,000, which is the threshold which requires competitive bidding. There likely would be some components that are more than $5,000, but less than 20. And so therefore we will get at least 3 quotes for anything that is, falls in that range, which would probably be most things, I would think. The electrical might be under 5,000. So that might be one that we wouldn't have to get multiple quotes for, but I think we will, just as good practice, probably get multiple quotes for all of this. And then this epoxy flooring would be part of that RFP that we're doing for the high school.
Okay.
All right.
So then just quick, so if we don't have a GC, would that fall on yourself, Casey, or who would like project manage this?
So that would be Dan and Joe.
Okay.
It would be our facilities crew. If Dan is out over the summer, more than he is now, then it would be, I would be taking a much more involved role in that.
Okay.
Yep. And this project, I'm hoping if this moves forward, that this would begin like as soon as school gets out, and really get to work on this project and have it completed by mid-July. That would be my hope if we can get all of our ducks in a row.
Okay. And just one other kind of high level question on these two. Where do they rank in like our all of our facilities projects potentially? I mean, is there a list of ones that are unfunded and prioritized? I'm assuming the prioritized list, right, goes through goes through capital committee and gets funding that way.
Correct.
So just I don't know how to weigh like what's most critical, important, and
Yep. Good. That's a great question. So all of our larger capital projects do go through sort of that other process, that capital planning process. Something like this, like moving the SRO's office in here, I don't know that it would have come up had we not had funding just newly available to do this work, right? Like we do have monies in our operating budget for maintenance for things like flooring repair and window repairs, things like that.
Right.
Given the state of so many of our critical infrastructure in the buildings, like our boilers, and even at CLES this year with a lot of issues coming up with our HVAC system, and unexpected, sort of repairs that have to be made. A lot of our nice operational stuff, like doing flooring and things, is being eaten up by just maintaining these really old, infrastructures. And so once we get those larger things addressed, and we can maintain our operating budget at it as is, I think we will absolutely be able to incorporate more of these projects into our ongoing, sort of summer project work, these smaller projects. I think this DRIP funding coming out when it did is just so beneficial to us because we have had to really divert a lot of those funds into more critical components of maintenance over the last year or two.
Okay. No, it might be good going forward to kind of keep a tick list of things. We're hopeful that this is an every year funding potentially. And so I think it would be helpful to have kind of that unfunded wish list per se of projects, right? As I totally get having to divert the operating budget, right, to the critical items in maintenance and repairs and other things. So, and we hear from the public and from students around the beautification of our other schools, right? We have a brand new elementary school. So I think this certainly is in line with that strategy, but to maybe help better understand the project prioritization going into future years, it would be helpful to just have maybe a tick list, like I said, a wish list.
Yep.
So
absolutely. Yeah, and
great.
Will do. Great suggestion. All right. And then the third project that we would ask the board to consider moving forward with the DRIP funding is the installation of the Halo smart sensors. We did go out to, I think we did talk about this in facilities, or maybe it was finance, I don't remember. It was one of them. But we did go out to bid on these, and this pricing here for the $55,159 is for 16 units. And so it would allow, we did open those additional bathrooms this year. And it would allow those to remain open with additional security supports to ensure, student safety and access. And so it includes the hardware, the installation, licensing for 10 years, and a 10-year warranty for all 16 sensors. We do plan on renovating 2 of those newly opened bathrooms this summer. And so we would anticipate installing these smart sensors after those bathroom renovations are complete. Any questions on that?
It's kind of a separate but kind of linked question. So I guess information around this. I attended the CARES meeting the last executive one in April, and unfortunately it came back that we were not approved for the grant. I believe that should have been communicated to at least Stephen, yourself, from the CARES group. But I believe they still anticipate funding 2 sensors. Did you have that discussion, talk with them? I'm just looking at it from like the holistic view of implementation of the Halo in the schools. So
Right. So they do. They are committed to still funding 2 of them.
Okay.
They unfortunately are, we didn't get the grant, so we're unable to take advantage of the $5,000 educational portion that goes along with it.
Right.
Fortunately, they still have been working with our middle school and high school on the educational piece because they do have other monies available, and they do work on other grant funding solutions. So they are, even to date, working with our schools on the education piece. So we don't foresee that kind of ending. It just might not be as robust as we had hoped it might be.
Okay.
And again, they're still able to support, 2 of these sensors. So that'll be helpful.
Okay. And so then in total for the high school, we need 18 sensors to cover.
Well, I'm not sure. I think because the sensors themselves are a separate price. This includes also the 10-year warranty, the 10-year license that goes along with it. In order for these to work, you have to have the license to go with them. For the alerts, the sensors, all that.
Sure.
So it would be a smaller reduction than we might think from this.
Okay. So sorry, I'll reframe my question. So to cover to do everything we want to do to cover the whole school with sensors in all the areas we want to put them, is that total 16 or is it more than that? I
do believe it's. I think this will cover everything that is open now, which includes the new bathrooms that were recently opened.
Right.
Okay.
And the locker rooms, because it was identified that those were highly prevalent areas for
areas. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's the locker rooms and all the currently existing open bathrooms.
Okay. So then with this funding, it wouldn't leave a gap in any areas that we had wanted to put sensors in.
No, this is fantastic.
Okay.
Yep.
So
and you're right. It would be a little.
Casey,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joy.
Maybe Casey, you can just give us the numbers, like how many we need
to do every single bathroom.
Yeah, to do the bathrooms and the locker rooms, and how much the request is covering. I get that.
So it's for 16. So it is 16 units does cover the locker rooms, assuming like 4 for each locker room, and all the currently open bathrooms. There are still some bathrooms that are not opened, but based on the locations of other open bathrooms, I don't think there was a demand that those be opened immediately, or anytime in the near future. So the 16 does cover all the open bathrooms and the locker rooms. Is that clear? And it will be, this 55,159 is for all 16. And you're right, I forgot about CARES, offering to fund 2 of them. So it would be slightly less than that.
Okay. I just didn't know if this was in addition to those 2 or if this is inclusive of those two. Okay, so we can net that out potentially for a small amount.
Right.
Okay.
And so this is just a summary of, everything we just talked about. Again, from the ranges, high, low, estimated cost, what I'm thinking of estimated timeframes for these projects.
And just one more quick thing on the Halo. Do we want to partner with CARES and have them fund something else? I mean, do we still want to push that issue and have them fund too, even if we can approve the entire project within this route?
I mean, that's a great question. We can absolutely talk to them about that and see if in the high school and see if that would be the better route to go. Yeah.
I mean, maybe that was designated to pay for sensors is then used on the education piece, since we're missing out on that, grant funding that we had hoped for. I don't know. I'm just.
Yeah, I think we can certainly stay in
I'll circle
communication
back.
about that. Exactly.
Okay.
All right. And then, like I said, just a summary of the projects and questions and feedback, which we kind of did along the way, which was helpful. Any other comments, questions, anything you think I should?
I would just think on the last slide when you did the summary, just kind of note in there that, like, how are you defining the low and the high? So I would think maybe the high is the contingency cost, but maybe put in there or put like a asterisk in there that doesn't include contingency costs.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Or clarify, or
Yep.
when you do it verbally.
Yep.
And if we're coming in above the 120, do we then have trade-off discussions, or are we going to go above that amount?
I think we would probably have some trade-off discussions, or segment phasing discussions at least, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anticipating that we will get additional funding, in the next round, which would be announced in March of 27, that's when the announcements come out for the funding levels. And so, maybe it would be, postponing one of the projects, tackling another one, and then waiting for next year's funding for the rest. Might be.
Okay. That's where I think I come back to creating that like wish list and priority list, right? If we can't do, I don't even know, but part of the high school, for example, because we're coming in above, right, where we had anticipated, then that would go first up on the list for next year's ideas.
Yep.
So, okay.
Exactly. All right. So thank you for that feedback.
No problem.
All right.
All right, old business, capital updates, oil tank replacement.
Do we need to formally agree, Joy, or take a vote to bring this to the rest of the board, or no? This is good.
No, I don't think we need a formal vote.
Okay.
So you could just bring it to the board, yeah.
Just curious. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Joy. Capital updates. So oil tank, they're sort of all going to be similar. We were hoping, actually, Stephen and I both attended the NBC meeting a week and a half ago, Stephen, 2 weeks ago, tomorrow, maybe. And hoping to get some updates on these projects. Right now, the NBC is the point committee. They are overseeing the roof replacement projects and the HVAC upgrade project. And so they really are sort of the managing those projects, I suppose. They've been appointed by the Board of Selectmen. They unfortunately didn't have any updates at the NBC meeting when we were there. They did acknowledge that, they do sort of owe us some feedback or some comments on the draft RFP that they do have in their possession for the HVAC upgrade. I sent that to them in early April. I think there is going to be some comments or suggestions based on what I'm hearing, but I have not yet received those. And then the roof replacements, there was no update provided, but as I understand, Silver Petrotelli has been awarded the, they're the design firm for the project. And there is a contract that needs to be executed. I think there's some boilerplate language that needs to be filled out with some milestone dates. And so we're just waiting. We're waiting for that to get finalized and executed so that can begin. I did reiterate at the MBC meeting to the committee that Silver Petrotelli did say that if there were higher priority areas of roofing that needed to be done first, that it could be segmented out almost in like two sort of projects, immediate need, right? That hopefully could be done this fall, and then longer term, time and weather permitting, afterwards. And so I did reiterate that the high school library roof and the classroom sections over the language lab, that those two roof sections need to be replaced before next winter. I don't know that we can get through another winter with the shape that those roofs are in those areas. And for the middle school, I emphasize the large gym and the library roof as really, really needing to be replaced this fall. And so they understood that. Same thing with the oil tank. They do have the draft RFP. I did reach out to them today. They are not assigned to the oil tank project, the oil tank replacement project. And so I did, just reach out today just to say if there is any other feedback, I'm happy to receive it and, make adjustments to the RFP. But we do want these projects to happen over the summer. So, I said we would likely be releasing these RFPs within the next week or so to get these projects moving forward, because we do want to get this work, out to bid and scheduled to get on people's work schedule, summer schedules. So those are the updates I have there.
Sorry to interrupt.
Nope.
So do you have like a simple project tracker that we could review? I'm assuming the MBC has their own project tracker for things that they're in charge of, but do we, and then there's the capital committee, right? Is that that's different than the MBC meeting, right?
Yep.
So it would be I will welcome feedback on this for my education or clarification. It would be great if we, as the district, had just a high level project tracker and where they fall for management purposes and then progress, right? Because some are owned by the MBC, some are owned by the capital committee, some are owned by us in the district. So for me, it would be helpful if there was a monthly summary that is published. And that might be something you already have or could adapt.
It is. Yeah.
Maybe.
So I had shared it.
You did share, something in a previous.
Shared it our last meeting. So this is what I use to track all of our projects, and this is making it so I can't see the screen. Hang on. Okay. So this is what I use to track, so I know where everything is. These are all of our projects, and then I have projects that are going out to bid. So these are everything that we need RFPs for, and all the work that's being done. So I mean, I can put it in a board ready format if you would like this to be a standing item for the facilities committee. I can format it for a board ready report if that's what you guys want. I'm happy to do that. I mean, I don't know if it's helpful to look at every single one or if it's, but I'm open to whatever you guys want to look at.
I mean, Yeah, it's helpful to have everything in one place, right? And it is confusing because we own some of the projects and some the NBC. It's really super confusing. So I guess maybe kind of share what you think, like a board ready document, and then we can maybe go from there.
Okay.
Like we don't, I'm not going to give you more work, but
No,
I have it. It's already here. It's just a matter of, pulling out what would be most helpful for you guys to be reviewing. That's all. So it's not that much work.
and I think under the approved projects, Casey, does it show like which one, how each one and where each one is being managed?
It does not, but that's a simple column I can add. It's right now it's only 2 that are the MBCs, right? The roofs and the HVAC upgrades. So that's an easy thing I can add.
But are then some in the capital committee and are some? No.
Nope.
Okay.
Everything in here has been approved by the capital committee, but the capital committee doesn't manage the projects.
Okay.
They just approve the funding for the projects and then, are interested in updates and how things are going.
Okay.
Yep.
So then I would anticipate that we would have a district owner then, right, for each one of those projects.
Yep. And that's a great, yep. Mm-hmm.
Again, I don't want to create work. I just, and this is up to Joy, as the facilities.
This is not a heavy ask at all. I want to reassure you. I can really just clean this up to be a very front facing, schedule that's easy to update every month so you can see where everything is.
Okay.
So when you you said you spoke with the NBC or you went to the meeting, is that documented in your spreadsheet or no? That's just, I would think, how do you organize that and manage, correspondence with people regarding each project? Do you reflect that in that document or no?
So this is like draft RFP developed and sent to NBC for review.
Oh.
Okay.
So I do put notes in here.
Mm-hmm.
As close as I can. It's been a couple weeks since I've updated it. So, but I do.
I see. Met with Paul to discuss. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because that's really helpful too, I think, to kind of see the timeline or the correspondence for each of the projects.
Sure. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then it could just be, similar to the finance reports kind of, Casey, just a monthly kind of report that's part of the facilities business, I think.
Absolutely.
Again, selfishly, it would be helpful for me being newer in trying to continue to understand kind of what is where and what are priorities, right?
Yep.
For us. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to do that. Well, I'll have that as a, so Joy, maybe looking at the agenda.
Because I think that'll help drive the agenda, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, if we can, because these really should be the bulk of what we talk about, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the committees, and rather that, the school dude reports are for the daily, right? It's like the daily things that are being addressed. Yeah. Those are, and it's important to see that things are being addressed and repaired, right? So that's important. But the bulk of the conversations should be driven by this work, the bigger, sure, longer term things. And so I'm happy to, if you look at the agenda, Joy, item 4 is school dude reports. So maybe I'll just change that to facilities reports, and then I'll have, school dude and capital tracker or something like that. Yeah, and then it'll just be the standing stuff. Okay. Perfect.
And that way too, it would help me prepare for the meeting to come with questions on those projects as well. I think ahead of time. So
sure. Perfect. Cool. All right. Should we move on to boilers?
VHS boilers.
All right. So we received some news from Dan Caldwell, 2 weeks ago, that we had, as you recall, we do have 3 boilers at the high school. One of the boilers, boiler number 3, has been offline for some time, I think before I got here. Boiler number 2 has had some repairs over the last couple of years with different sections in the boilers that have sprung a leak, and they have been repaired, sometimes using sort of harvesting parts from that boiler number 3 that's offline to make the repairs to that boiler number 2. Boiler number 1 has been, knock on wood, has been functioning perfectly fine until about 2 weeks ago, when it started developing leaks in a couple of different sections. And when I say sections, I'm gonna pull up some pictures so you can visualize. Maybe next time we meet in person, we can take a field trip to the boiler room.
That sounds good.
It's really quite something. When I say sections, this is what I'm referring to. So can you see that?
Mhm.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately. So this is, I think this is boiler number 2. Each of these, see this area where there's like 3 rusted, like circles, ovals. Each one of these is a section of the boiler. And so there's 3 of these massive boilers in the boiler room. And there's about 22 sections in each boiler. This is the front end of the boiler. This is what the inside of the sections looks like. And so this is now boiler number 1 that has sprung leaks in now 5 sections of the boilers. And so you can see my cursor right here. See how there's like a pipe going up to this section right here, and there's a pipe going up to this section here. There is no pipe going up to these 2 sections. These 2 sections had leaks. And so the repair was to cut these off, seal the valve so it's no longer using that section. It's still operable, and it's still is capable of heating the building with these sections down. The concern is, we lost 5 sections in a matter of, I think, 8 days, and this was the best running boiler that we had. And so we are needing to come up with some contingency planning should these boilers in fact go offline before the next heating season. We do use them like regularly to heat the hot water in the building, right? And so they are firing. It's not that we shut them off.
I was just going to ask that. Yeah. What's outside of winter, what's the use case? Obviously the hot water.
The hot water. Yeah. So they are used daily, but they're not used nearly as much, obviously, as when it's calling for heat. Yeah. And so we will have a sense of how it's managing. These boilers, so this is boiler 3. You can see this whole section was removed. This was harvested to be replaced in another boiler. But these boilers, there was some question at the NBC meeting that these were replaced. I think there's some belief that these boilers were replaced in the last high school renovation project. I think there is some misunderstanding about it, because from every documentation that I can find on that project, it says that the boiler replacements and the heating upgrades were value engineered out of that project, which makes sense when you look at the shape of these boilers. These are not 20-year-old boilers. Even if they were ignored for 20 years, they would not look like this. And I think these sections, these are the flame burners. These are much newer, probably about 20 years old. So I think these are the components of the boiler and the HVAC system that was replaced during that renovation. But all the research I could do on these particular boilers says that they were manufactured between like 1976 and 1984 or something like that. So, which leads me to believe that these are much older than some folks may believe at this time. So what do? We need to come up with a contingency planning in case these boilers go offline. And so right now, Dan is looking, he has been in touch with a company called AAA Boiler Rentals. If you didn't know, you can actually rent boilers if you need to. So we are securing quotes from them to get an understanding of worst case scenario. And we need to call in, rented boilers for the next winter. What will that look like? It will be very expensive. This is something very likely hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? And this is something that we would have to, which we already are, being, communicative with the town. This is something we have brought to, the first selectman and the finance director in our weekly meetings. They're aware of the situation, so that he can update his boards accordingly.
How do we quantify the risk? Do we get someone to inspect and say, what is the likelihood, right? So I hear you on communicating ahead of time, which is absolutely right, the right thing to do. Say, hey, we have but how do we quantify the risk, like the likelihood of needing to rent boilers for the next, heating season and.
Well, I think yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, please.
Well, I think it's there inherently in what's already down and what's up and failing rapidly. So I don't know how many of my 4 tires would have to go flat before we'd say the car can't run anymore, right? I mean, I don't know when the last one might flatten, but it's the probability is high and getting higher every time we have this. When 8 in a row go, or I'm sorry, a few of them blow within 8 days, no one's going to come out and say, well, these other ones are going to last, 6 more months and you're fine for 6 more months. They're going to say the likelihood is they're going to keep doing this. They're at that age. They're beyond their age. They're 20 years beyond. You got a great deal.
So I understand that. I think when we present the need, right, to the town, we should present it as this is likely something that will need funding for the next heating season, is what I'm hearing.
Or it's a critical need. Yeah. And this is why.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me just finish the sort of the, what the plan is, at least the contingency planning that we have, right? So Dan has reached out to this AAA Boiler Rentals. The gentleman was on site, looked at our system, looked at, where everything is, how everything is set up. He did make a comment that as far as these types of situations go, ours is as straightforward as it gets. Now, I don't think there's anything very straightforward about hooking up a rented boiler to heat your school facility. But I think that's positive that he said it's as straightforward as it could get. He didn't look at it and say, wow, this is going to be a really complicated job, right? And so that we have that working in our favor. He is waiting. I spoke with Dan this morning and he did speak with this gentleman today. And he is waiting on a quote from his mechanical vendor to figure out the pricing for the tie-in. So there's the rental of the boiler and then there's all the work to tie into our system. Sure. So he's waiting on that last component of the quote. He said we should hopefully have the quote by the end of this week. And so then at least we have a number, right? We have a number that if we are getting to, if we lose more sections over the summer, just using the boilers for the hot water system, I think that's a very good indicator that we may need to go with our backup planning to ensure that, come heating season, we have heat offered in the buildings. I don't know. I have to get more information on what is the lead time on this, right? Like, can this setup happen like over the weekend?
I was just going to ask that question. Right. Like, is this do we have to shut down the school for a month to hook
exactly?
Up
exactly. And that all will inform sort of the decision making on, the risk management. What risk are we comfortable going into the heating season with, right? Given that it may take X number of days, weeks, months, or whatever to do this work. So there's still more information that I need to get, and we have a little window of time in order to get that information. But I just wanted this committee certainly to be very fully apprised of the critical need of this important work that we need to get done. I don't even anticipate. I mean, I do anticipate going into next heating season with some type of Band-Aid, right? Because, the whole HVAC upgrade project is not going to happen over this summer. We're hoping to get like a really good assessment and evaluation of the entire system and a plan on how to either phase in or in one fell swoop, upgrade the system. But that work won't happen before next heating season. So we do need to have a plan in place to ensure that we have heat for next winter. This will be a critical information to have. So
Casey, almost like you did the presentation for the drip project. Do we have the pictures? Like, do we have a lot more pictures, and can we kind of get them labeled and stuff, and almost like in a presentation format?
I can do that. Do we want to maybe? I'm
not saying like a formal,
Yeah.
But I think it would be really helpful.
I think
for us to
you're
share this.
absolutely right, Joy. And I think once we have this additional information from, how much is it going to cost to rent a boiler? What does that look like? The time frame, the cost, all of that. I don't think it would be for this Wednesday. Like you can introduce that we talked about it and that this is going to be coming, but certainly because this is something that we will have to talk about, with the full board and multiple boards in town. It's a critical issue. So yes, we would do a formal presentation on that.
Yeah, I just want to get ahead of it a little bit more.
Pictures, videos, you name it. We'll have it all. So people are very fully informed.
So I think then, Joy, would your plan would be to introduce this risk at this Wednesday's board meeting? Yeah, with
correct.
More conversation and formalization coming as to what the plan would be. Okay, yeah.
Okay. All right.
And this has really come to light, just so we're clear, because these 5 sections have started to fail in the last couple of weeks, just using it as a hot water.
Exactly. Right? And it's 5 sections in the one boiler that we have not had any problems with.
Good.
A good boiler. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Understood. Okay. Just wanted to be clear.
Of course. Yep. All right. Shall we move on?
Sure. CLES Fence project.
All right. So I'll end with some good news. We did receive bids for this fence project. I think there was 14 bids that we received. 4 vendors came out for the walkthrough, which was great. The project is going to be awarded. The project came in at $28,238, and that is to really fence in the entire back of CLES, so that from the wood line, basically it runs along the entire wood line. And there's a couple things that we just need to keep in mind here. Number one, there are wetlands back there. So I do have to submit an application to the Wetlands Commission, seeking permission for an amendment to, the area back there to do the work. There may have to be some small shrubs removed, just so that we can get a clear. I don't want to do like a really total like zigzag fence that totally goes with the wood line. I'd like it to be a little bit clearer, so that a straight shot, and removing some shrubs would allow for that. I say shrubs. They're not nice shrubs. They're like woods, basically. So we have to do that. And the pricing on this does leave a balance of $4,998 in those capital projects. So that could be used to do some of that, cleanup to make that to make the line of the fencing really clear. So I think we're going to be in really good shape for that. Also, there's going to be a lot of work in that back area of CLES by, I think it's Gerber. or ONG, for the school project. They have some work on that back road to do. They're replanting some shrubbery back there. So I want to make sure that we time it well with their work and we don't step on each other's toes. I think for us to come in, probably at the end after everything is done and finish that up would be smart. But I need to coordinate that. Also want to coordinate with Parks and Rec to make sure that the gate that we envision putting in the front to keep our, young runners contained isn't going to interfere with access that they may or may not need for clearing snow and things like that. So a couple little things, but good news is that we do have good numbers that came in within budget, and this project can move forward over the summer, hopefully.
What was the total for the project? You said $28,000.
$28,238.
$238. And who was it awarded to?
I want to make sure that Jules has actually reached out to them before we say
okay.
it.
Yeah. That's fine.
I think he has, and I have the name, but so let me just confirm with him tomorrow that he's
okay.
And then I'll let you know for Wednesday.
And then there will be a balance of how much?
$4,998.
Okay.
Which we might potentially use some of that to do perimeter or border like cleanup, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And there's also some discussion around the type of gate that we want in that first entrance part. The way we had bid it out was like a double wide, like a 12-foot gate. But then it's funny because as we were leaving, there was a young family coming in with their children. And one of the vendors said, so this is open to the public can use it. He's like, if you have those two huge gates, the public isn't going to worry about closing them. You're going to have those gates flapping in the wind and all that stuff. So it was good point. And so we're going to just really, again, I want to talk with Laura to see, I don't want to impact any work that they have to do with Parks and Rec for clearing out that area, but probably a smaller section gate. So there's going to be a few minor tweaks. So the 238 maybe up or down a few $100s or something like that. But depending on what we decide on that gate. But
just totally a little bit off topic. So the school playgrounds are open to the public at all times?
Not during school hours.
Not during school hours.
No,
Okay.
after school hours and on the weekends. Yep.
And they are. Okay.
And that's all I had on that one.
Okay. Any miscellaneous discussion?
I just had a curiosity question of what's going on in the front of CLES right now?
Oh, in the front field?
Yeah.
They came in to basically regrade and I think bring in like better topsoil to that area so that grass can grow. And it can be used for its intended purpose, which is a playing field for students for outdoor activities.
So
It was part of the original project, and it never was fully finished. So there was lots of stones, rocks. The topsoil was very concerning for students who played on it, especially. So they came in and they're just redoing the whole entire thing.
okay, and will it be fenced in, or will it just be kind of an open green area for
An open green area.
Yep.
for
There's no plan for fencing. There has been discussion about it previously. To my understanding, there was, but it was advised against that. I think that's my understanding.
Okay. Just curious because I was been over there and just wondering what was happening.
We're also curious about the maintenance of it, so I think we need to look into that to ensure that after this is all done, that it will be properly maintained. There seem to be nice little beds of things located in different areas that will require a lot of weeding, we think.
Yeah, there's a little chair area set up. I mean, looks like it's going to be nice. I was just curious what.
Okay. I don't have any miscellaneous discussion.
Okay.
Anything else, Caroline?
Nope.
Okay. All right, Casey, if you could just, I did the minutes, so if you could just insert maybe your presentation and then maybe any pictures or,
Sure.
and there's a couple, who it's awarded to for the fence project. I just
Sure.
left this space there, but so, because
Absolutely.
I don't know if she wants to get it out for Wednesday or not. I know, really, I don't think it was on the agenda, but
Okay.
I'm thinking maybe we make a motion to add it.
Okay.
If you're able to get to it tomorrow, I don't know.
Yeah, I should be able to.
Okay.
I should be able to.
That's up to you. So if you're able to.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. Perfect.
All right. We'll adjourn at 7:10.
Great.
All right.
All right.
Have a
Have a
great
good night,
night.
everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.